Hey, Stephen on here at High Octane Classics in Auburn, Massachusetts with another High Octane Walkaround. Now, what do you do if you want a 427 Cobra but don't have a couple $1,000,000 to blow? Well, you can buy yourself a Cobra Replica. And one of the better names in that world is Factory 5, located just down the road, about 90 miles in Wareham, Massachusetts, where they make some of the best Cobra replica kits on the planet. This is one of them, but this is something new. This is called the Mark II. Now, one of the problems with the original AC Cobra was that if you're a taller person like me, you're kind of crunched up inside of that. After all, it was a British sports car in the 50s, and it never really grew up inside. So the Mark II takes care of that with drop-down floors. We'll take a peek here. We can see that instead of putting your chin and your knees an inch apart on these, the floor drops down, so they're a lot more comfortable to drive and ride in than would be a $2 million actual Cobra. And of course, you got to remember too that the original Cobras, the 289 cars and the 427s, were made of aluminum. And the thing is, the 289 cars had a thicker body, the 427 cars had a thinner body. How thin? About 3 times the thickness of a beer can, which is to say, if you knocked it with your knuckle, you could put a dent in it. One of the beautiful things about modern replicas is fiberglass. You know, these are fiberglass bodies, which weigh probably not much more than aluminum. With that said, much more durable. And the beauty here again is the side pipes, the wide wheels and tires, and the look and feel and more of the performance than you'd have in an actual 427. How much more? Let's look under the hood. Back in 1965, when Carroll Shelby and the guys went and put the big block 427 into the Cobra, they had 425 horsepower, which is a good place to be, but we can do better. This is a more modern 429 Ford big block, canted valves, and basically more breathing potential than a 427 FE. Just ask the dyno. This one has aluminum intake manifold, a pretty big Holley 4-barrel carburetor, and easily 450 horsepower, which is 25 more than the 427 FE motor in an original aluminum. And again, everything else on this is very light. The beauty of the fender headers right here, the tube steel headers that run out to the side pipes, just like an original car. Square tubing in the frame, rack and pinion steering, things that weren't there on the original leaf spring Cobras, which actually had transverse leaf springs, were pretty archaic. But again, the Factory 5 is very modern, front and rear, including the rear suspension. One of the beautiful things too about the 427 Cobra versus the little 289 is how the rear wheel openings are flared out, which gives it just a really voluptuous, tough look and keeps those big fat tires inside the body where they belong. Let's look inside the trunk. Yeah, fiberglass, of course, on the deck lid here, nicely finished inside and out. Trunk mounted battery, it's a good thing right there because the weight of the battery is 60 pounds or so. They're closer to the back, the better, to offset the mass of the V8 up front. Just tidy build here, the aluminum inside, a little prop rod for the trunk lid if you want to keep it up at the car show. You can do that very nicely. And one of the great things really about the popularity of the original AC Cobra and the AC Ace 6-cylinder sports car that came before that in the 1950s is a lot of the lights and bumpers and various bits are available today in reproduction, including the original type tail lights right here. That's exactly what you would have found on a 427 Cobra back in 1965. And it's legal and does the part today. The little bumperettes right here, what these things actually are, these are more race-oriented. Back in 1965, competition SC 427 Cobras would have had these things here. During a pit stop, a guy would come up with a little dolly, he would push down, it would engage these, and by levering the tail up would lift the back tires to switch them out. So again, these are a reference right here to the 427 sports competition race cars of the 1960s. And of course, the single hoop roll bar, it's a nice thing, it'll protect your noggin, and it's reference correct to the original cars. You only had 1 hoop, not 2. And of course, the side pipes right here, which absolutely function, nothing bogus about those. The only downside is you want to be sure when you get out, don't brush your legs against these, it gets a little warm. But again, that's the beauty of the 427 Cobra. You either spend a couple $1,000,000 on a real one or get a replica, which is every bit as real and in fact a little bit faster and more comfortable thanks to the Factory 5 Mark II floor pan, which puts you down a little lower in the car and gives you a better experience driving the car. To learn more about this one, check it out on the High Octane Classics website.